Hello! Welcome to Between the Panels, the graphic novel, comic, manga podcast, where we get to talk about indie books and just talk about it. My name is Kier, and with me are my friends.
Hello, my name is John Ferraro. I will be at your service today.
Hello, I'm Tyler.
Hello, I'm Ronnie.
I have gone by many names and many forms, but I'm also called Dan.
Hi, my name is Matthew Rataco.
Yeah, so how we been feeling this week, guys? This is our first episode.
Yeah, I've been very much looking forward to this. I haven't done one of these in quite a while, so this is pretty exciting. I'm a little nervous, actually.
I was so excited I put on my Sunday best.
Sunday best right here.
On a Saturday, no less.
Honest.
You gotta be prepared.
Exactly.
Gotta be prepared.
But yeah, no, we're in the beautiful space that is LMC Studio on the Avenue in Mamaroneck, New York. So thank you, LMC, for giving us the space and the opportunity to do this. So say thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
everybody.
So today's book, we are going to talk about Cosmo Nights by Helen Templer. This is a story that takes place in space. It's like neo-medieval, where it's kind of like that sense where it's in space, it's sci-fi, but they still have like Celtic, Arthurian type of Knights of the Round Table kind of thing. And so the story is that the biggest thing they have is jousting, but instead of horses, they're in mech suits or Iron Man mech suits, and they joust each other. And the winner takes a princess to be their bride-to-be. However...
Or more their sponsor's bride-to-be, essentially.
Exactly. But in this one, we meet some of our main characters that are not about that and are just like, hey, you know, we're just gonna do the jousting. We'll take the princess and she's gonna do her own thing. She don't need nobody. So, yeah, no, I really like it. I think the art really got me when I first bought this at Barnes & Noble. But real quick, guys, what did you guys think? Starting with John.
I'll start with me. Yes, I took a couple days to read this a couple of times, and I think this is an absolutely wonderful start to a story. I think the first half is perhaps a little dry, especially compared to the second half, where the action gets really intense and a lot of characters get. You get a proper introduction to them, but the first half of the book is really about setting up the world and making us understand the characters and the stakes. And this is really important for a first volume, so it's all right if it's not as hyper engaging as maybe the other is. But the last, especially the last few pages, got me so hooked, and I will be picking up the second volume as soon as I get a chance to, because this is a great story, and I cannot wait to see where this is going.
Yeah, I liked it so much. I read the second volume, and I'm super excited for the third one. I'm super excited. It's really well paced. The characters are really well fleshed out. It's just a joy seeing a story that has so many overarching character arcs that eventually do all meet together at one point. I don't want to spoil the second volume, especially not there yet, but it's really fun to see how it all comes together. And these characters are just an absolute, they're just fun. And they have touching moments, and they have and there's definitely a character for everybody, where there's one character that you're definitely going to resonate with, and they're all very well fleshed out. This was just an absolute joy to read.
I'll address the elephant in the room, being the token female in the group right now.
The only woman here. Whoops.
And no.
I'd like to say I had a nice perspective on it that perhaps I might be able to dig into deeper insights than my other male colleagues here. But I'm glad that everyone equally has been able to enjoy it, despite that's the thing sometimes with books. It's like, oh, the character doesn't relate to me, so how can I enjoy this book? But I'm glad that it's defying expectations and people are really finding something to enjoy, whether it's the art style, the character arcs, or just the overall atmosphere of nights in space.
Oh, yeah.
But I particularly like it. Smash patriarchy. Woohoo. It's great.
The setting's so much fun.
Really love it.
Just picking up this book, reading it, my first thought was just, okay, we have Knights in Space, we have horror, we have sad backstories, we also have just, I didn't think I was going to see a medieval sort of like space, I want to say Odyssey? or opera. I feel like this is the first parts of that. And just giant robot fights was just basically making me go, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going in completely blind to this, my biggest worry, I read a little bit on what it's about before going in, and my first worry was, okay, are they gonna? I'm getting an idea of what the message is or what they're going for. All right, are they gonna kind of hammer the message in a little too hard?
It is kind of on the back of the book.
It is right on the back. My big worry was, oh man, let's see what we got. I think it managed to do a good job to not beat you over the head with its message. The most important thing with something like this, it doesn't sacrifice the story or the characterization for the sake of anything political or social that it's going for. I too read the second book, and I think it does such a good job in book one setting up, okay, here's our world, here's how unreal it is, here's how futuristic it is, but also here's how relatable it is. And in book one, you get a really good, here's what our conflict is, here's what our characters are doing. And I think book two does such a good job of, all right, now that we know what everyone's doing, now we can delve a little bit deeper. What are the pros and cons? Book two does not take the message and make it a black and white, well, we're good and here's why. It's like, all right, well, what if somebody doesn't agree with what we're doing? It builds the story very well. I like where our through line through both books is really good development.
Oh yeah, they really take multiple angles with this, and they really, and it's just the characters. I think it just stands by that the characters are just so well fleshed out, and seeing how this really, really detailed world, how it affects them personally.
Yeah.
That's what really carries it through.
I have not read book two yet, and I am intending to do so very soon. But I'm already starting to see those sort of things pop up in book one, especially with Kate Rose, my absolute favorite character so far.
She's my favorite too. Right away.
Well, because she's introduced in such an amazing way where I mean, her proper introduction is the second time we see her, because her first time we see her, she is shooting at everyone. She is the most morally ambiguous character ever. But, when she gets introduced properly on the ship later on, we do realize that we all are fighting the same battle, but she is so willing to do things that no one else in this crew is willing to do so far, and I can't wait to see where that goes, because she's so fun, and I love this design with 3 robot fingers. I really like that. Most of the time when you get prosthesis or robotic prosthesis in sci-fi,
it's like the whole.
It's usually the whole thing. I really like it when it's just partial. And the three fingers is really cool. So it's like, how did that happen? How did she lose 3 fingers?
Her leg too.
And her leg.
I mean, her leg with a false stasis too, and it had the heel built in. So
So just so our audience know, now we're going to full spoiler territory.
I guess.
It's a book review. Come on.
And also, so we have 2 people, and also our graphic designer Chris, who made our wonderful logo here.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Has also
you.
read book 2, but we will just focus on book 1. But I will at some point I will find book 2 and I will read it. But yeah, I like how you.
It's all free on her website.
But yeah, that's
real
true.
cool.
It is.
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, no, I love how you guys
you,
also
Hannah.
mentioned Kate Rose, because I feel like she was the perfect ambiguous anti-hero, I guess you could say. Just
You could.
She had this whole anarchist streak to her.
because it's kind of like the way how I look at it. It's like Cecil from Invincible. I mean, with Cecil, his intentions. He wants to protect the world, but he has some pretty shady ways of doing it. Here is that same energy. It's just she says she's part of the resistance, but how far is she willing to go?
So it's we could be the good guys or we could save the world. We can't be both.
We have no idea how, at this point in the book, we have no idea how far we can trust this character.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her so incredibly interesting. Because she wants to bring these characters in onto a resistance to destroy this oppressive system. And it is an oppressive system.
Oh yeah.
but she's doing it by blackmailing them.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is like,
I mean,
I don't have to go into how shady that
That's
is.
one way
It's
to
kind of
make
obvious.
friends.
I mean, in the context of the series, it seems to be effective, but at the same time,
course.
it's effective for the moment, but how long lasting is that going to
Yeah.
last? Because it feels like with these kind of things, blackmailing someone in a system can only get you so far.
She's building a house on sand, and I want to
Yeah.
know if and when this is going to collapse.
Yeah, because you never know how everyone else is going to respond to this. Because she's so big on this. We're going to convince the galaxy. We're going to show the galaxy how messed up this is.
Yeah.
But how's the galaxy going to react to the way you say your message? That actually is something that will get brought up in Volume 2, but I won't spoil how.
Yeah, 'cause I don't-
Thank you to the people who have read Volume 2 and not spoiled.
Yeah,
Much
no
appreciated.
spoilers,
Because
but
we all
thank
definitely
you
want
for
to
that.
read it as
Because
well.
Yeah.
because that is an sorry, I didn't
No,
mean to-
you go.
No, because that is an interesting thing. Because we do get the perspective of like the main characters of dealing with this society. We get some other characters, but I don't know if we're getting like the full scope of. It's doing like, at least in my perspective, it's doing like a little bit of world building here and there, and we're getting a little bit of like how everyone's feeling about this. But I think, according to what you guys are saying, book 2 like really expands that, and I'm looking forward to how that is also expanded. I also love how this book started. I like the intro with our main character Pan and her best friend. Because when I was reading it, I was just like, all right, let's get this started. Oh, cool. It's just 2 best friends. She's crying because she's like, oh, after the joust, I have to go be with someone. It's like, oh, well, that sucks.
I'll be perfectly honest. Reading that for the first time, I actually did not think that Pan was going to be our main character. I thought Pan was going to be brought back later as more of a recurring character, and it was going to be I already forgot her name unfortunately, because Tara, who was going to be following Tara as she escaped.
It's kind of funny,
and
though,
then it
that
cuts away from, and then the immediate next cut is to 5 years later in the joust where we're introduced to Bull.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to Pan, and it's like,
Yeah.
it completely changes my where I thought the story was going with this, and that's. I mean, I'm always a fan of surprises, and I'm always a fan of not knowing exactly what's going to happen next, because that's more interesting than, being like, oh, I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah.
'Cause what's the fun in that, right?
I didn't think. Yeah, to double down on that, I didn't think Tara was then going to be absent.
yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
She
completely.
does not come back.
Yeah.
At all.
I thought
Yeah.
she was going to show
We
up.
have
Yeah.
a message. We have a message from her at the very end.
It's our
and that's
stinger
it.
for
I mean,
the
that's
next
she
one.
comes in right there, and then you're more focused on Pan, and I'm like,
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
How do you
great
s-
how
and-
Tara's the shadow throughout the entire first volume.
Oh yeah, yeah. We keep seeing like glimpses of her. Or we think we see glimpses of her. We probably haven't seen any of her.
yet
Which is really, really well done in terms of writing this character. If I may, just on a brief tiny tangent, I saw this movie called The Amateur last night, and if you've seen the trailer, you know this guy's his wife dies and he wants to go on revenge for avenge her death. And in the movie, sorry if this is spoilers for this movie, but it's just all right. Like, you don't have to see it. He keeps seeing full on hallucinations of his wife, like interacting with him constantly. And while it's kind of interesting, it doesn't go anywhere. And it just feels like just overdone. Like the way this book handles it, where you see someone who looks like her and it sort of like drags your attention away from what's actually going on. That's way better than what this movie did, where it's just like, oh yeah, this is just a full-on hallucination.
And
We're just
that's a
standing here.
major plot point of that
Yeah,
movie.
right,
Where
exactly.
this is, you get a little taste here and there.
And
And it's setting
there
up.
she is.
And it keeps setting up, and it's going to keep going, and eventually we're going to get the payoff, and it's going to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really
yeah,
good.
you get to
they
watch
use that
Pan's
they use that
heartbreak
sort of shadow
constantly.
thing like sparingly, which is probably the best way you could
yes,
do it with this, because
sparingly.
they treat it like how you treat truffles. If you put too much on it, it just
You blew it.
you blow it, and you
Yeah.
just kind of
They
you're
blew
trying to
it.
just put it there saying, congratulations, you have it, but you just spaced it out perfectly.
Speaking of that stinger, where Pan figures out the little amulet that Tara has to communicate with her, she just realizes, oh wow, she left me a message, and I just had a moment where I was like, oh no, this is like.
It's been 5 years.
It's
It's
like-
so long.
Yeah, right. It's like that's worse than whatever
yeah,
I would.
charge.
I've been waiting
You know,
for 5 years.
It's worse than like back when I was in like, or even nowadays, where you have your cell phone or smartphone, and it's just like, oh, whoops, my friend messaged me like yesterday.
Yeah, and they're
Like,
gonna be so mad that they messaged me
oh,
yesterday.
God.
Yesterday.
Imagine
at
how
least with-
upset Tara
least-
will be.
At least with the doc, he had the common courtesy to just send you a message right as you come back from
Wait,
the
wait, but in fairness to Penn, she had no idea
didn't
what
know-
this thing was.
she didn't know
no,
she
I
did
had
that,
no idea
yeah.
it was a literal computer. It's just a jewel as far as she
really-
knows. This is a memento that was given to her.
You had to be in a
You'd
fancy
think of the
place
fu-
to charge it.
Yeah.
You need a fancy
Yeah, right.
place.
You'd think in the
What does it
future they
take?
would
Is
just-
it USB-C? Is it USB? I don't even know what it takes to
that's
charge
a,
it.
That's
right
a
now.
fun little scene to go into Kate's tech
Yes.
prowess.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, you have one of those?
you
Let
have
me
one of
see
those?
that. Let me see that."
Yeah.
Turns it
Got
on,
it.
and Pen's like, "Oh, I didn't know
Right.
to do that. I didn't know that was
Oops.
the thing."
Kind of weird how in the
Honestly-
future these kind of things don't come with instruction manuals. You'd think they would have figured out a way to
Well,
just kind of
they're
build
not
it
for
in
the
there.
peasantry,
That's-
they're
yeah,
for the
that's- yeah.
royalties.
There's even more reason. They should be able to,
Why would
Well,
Ben have it?
I'm sure
She's
they
just some
tell the
mechanic.
princesses how to do it.
because if you don't know how to work it, how do you
I
gonna fix
hope
it?
so.
Yeah, you'd like to think so.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they just hand it to them and they don't even know how to use it.
Yeah,
Honestly, I
yeah,
think this
yeah.
book handled
Tracker style.
keeping the audience in the dark as much as Pan very well. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like
yes.
exposition heavy. It
That's a
wasn't
really
like,
good point.
Yeah, because
You
it's
know
like
about
we
as
as the
much as
audience
she
are like, oh,
does.
this does this too? Huh?
Well,
we didn't
yeah.
know that. There's no we couldn't
Yeah,
know.
there's
no,
nothing-
we couldn't know.
there's
It
nothing
doesn't
worse-
talk down to the
The
audience.
whole story is from Pan's perspective.
Yeah, you find everything out when
Well,
she does.
which
Yeah.
makes
Except for
Which is
the
hard
one
to
part,
do
except
as a
that
writer.
one part of the book where
Oh, yeah.
you saw it from Cass's perspective, and I
Yeah.
thought
I wanna
that
get
was
more
actually my
into
favorite.
that one.
That was
That
actually my
part
favorite whole.
Yeah.
Well, that was my favorite part of the whole.
Isn't that
first
Cass
part.
telling her?
No,
it's
it's
no,
just
'cause-
Cass thinking
no,
about
you've
it.
got
Okay.
you've got
Yep.
one part
She's
where
in-
she's
she's
telling
in
it,
full
and then you've got
flashback
another
at that
few,
point.
Yeah.
huge part. And I'm not usually a huge big fan of flashbacks, just because it's like
No, that one
time
worked
wise.
really
But
well.
no, this actually explained everything, and also gave the fact that they worked it into Cass's fight was just
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
This is everything you're gonna need to know
Yeah.
about
It's a
Cass's
flashback
character.
done.
Well, I'd much
It's
rather
flashbacks
have,
done right.
Yeah,
I'd much
it
rather
is.
have flashbacks, just even if they're not done particularly right. I'd rather have flashbacks than just blatant exposition.
Yeah,
just
let me
talking.
just talk it
'Cause
out.
Yeah.
nothing kills a story more than just sitting down and being like, "This is the way everything has been. This is the way."
Yeah,
and it's like,
Yeah, but the way I really
it's
liked
so
how
boring.
I know,
Like,
it's-
but especially more of integrating this flashback, particularly into this fight scene and showing the
Yes.
parallels between the two. It's just, oh, it's so
Both-
nice.
Yeah.
Both
And
that
books
was
are-
really cool.
And most of it is done just through the art. It's just
Yeah.
They
and
managed to
all
incorporate a
almost
flashback
all the
into-
dialogue, almost all the dialogue is the announcer talking about it in the present, and it's just like, that
both
fight
books-
scene was so well done.
Yeah.
I think that fight scene adds layers to Cass's character because
Oh,
if
absolutely.
you see her on the cover and if you just read her in the book, she just seemed kind of like the muscle, and then you realize, oh, she is actually someone who was going to be one in one of these things.
Yeah.
She's the one who now fights
That's a
for
good
herself.
bit
She's
for
the
her.
one.
Yeah.
She's the one most personally entangled in the mission. In these Cosmo Knights, and it's just like, wow, someone who's actually been on both sides, and
She has
Very
she's got
good.
layers.
personal motivation for doing what she
Like,
does.
I'll
Yeah.
be shooting from my own hand like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there we
just-
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
But going to
very
the
brave.
art,
Very
yeah.
speaking
brave.
of shooting from the gun, I'm just gonna. Sorry, I know you.
No, go ahead.
Probably the standout moment for me in Cosmo Knights was the big joust fight in the middle, especially when
Yes.
Cass just like rips the bull. Cass is the bull.
Yeah.
In there,
Cass
and
is
she
the
rips the opponent in half, and I'm just like, oh wow, I did not think we were gonna get a robot fight, like essentially the equivalent of a giant robot fight in the middle of a space adventure.
We keep
Seriously.
talking about the art and how cool it is, so should we show it off?
Yeah,
Oh, we
we
gotta
should
talk a little bit
really
about his
talk
art.
about the art
I
because
think everyone has
this
like
is
a
the
favorite
final
panel.
battle from the flashback that Cass goes through. I don't know which camera to point to. Probably mine.
Probably yours, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but in general, like this was like the biggest standout for me. Not just the art, but also the colors. What are your guys' thoughts?
So colorful.
Right?
Yeah.
That shootout scene in the rain where let me see if I can find
Yeah.
it. Where everything is just doused in red. Oh my god, I'm a sucker for red lighting just in general, but the way it looks like hold on, where is it? There it is. Like, I don't know if you can zoom in on that. That is just gorgeous.
It is.
The way and because it's so natural because it's like it's all coming from the neon of this city. Oh my god, the way it just reflects off the rain and just It's very Blade Runner-esque, and it's so nice.
I was about to say Blade Runner.
Yes, it's very. It's very.
Yeah, no,
reminiscent of
I
Blade
really
Runner.
like how they really utilized both blue, a little bit of green, and red into here instead of it making just like it's space, so all black with tiny white dots. It's like no,
Yeah.
we're gonna go
Doused in color.
exactly
so much color.
Well, it helps set the mood and the scene for the characters too, because it matches the character experience in most of those scenes during
Oh,
the
true.
fights.
Yep.
The during the fights, there's a lot of yellow, a lot of orange, and a lot of white, and it sort of shows this gallantry, this energy, specifically with Cass, is carrying through the whole setting. But with that scene in the rain, there's violence, there's fear, there's anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little bit of anger too,
And it's personal.
it's personal.
Yes.
very
Everything is personal.
Yeah, and
for all these
Pan
characters.
has a lot of scenes where the background is blue or it's green, and she's depressed and she's upset.
Yes.
And the lighting, or not the lighting because it's not a movie, but the panel.
Well, it is lighting. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
but
lighting
the
in
panel
dialogues.
shows it through color only. We
Yeah.
don't need her to say anything for it to be
And that's
communicated.
great. Show, don't tell. That's
That's-
like we want to see.
No,
isn't
that
the point?
that
Isn't that the point of a graphic novel?
that is the
You know, right?
Don't.
You know.
This is a,
I read plenty that don't.
yeah, no, this is a visual like medium, and I really feel like that Hannah did a really great job because her job, according to her bio, she is a cartoonist and also a graphic designer. She worked
that
on a
makes
lot of
sense.
stuff with IDW, which no shock, this is by IDW or Top Shelf, and worked on like the Tomb Raider comics, Gem, and even the Samurai Jack comics too.
And it just makes it
Which
so.
really makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes this thing whole so quick to read. Like it's such a breezy read. Like because it's
Yes.
It really
it's not text heavy. It's all visual, and you can just take it in at your own pace and just stream through it.
She
so
lets
fast.
a lot of the visuals do the talking.
And
Yeah,
she
that's-
handles action really well.
I
Oh
agree.
my
That's-
God.
It's not
I mean,
confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
not at all. I thought I was
you know
worried
where
it was going to be
everybody's at.
when they introduced the way when I was reading up on what these like suits of armor were going to be like. Jetpacks is complicated. It's cool sounding, but like when you're drawing it out, it seems like it might be difficult because it's a very three-dimensional space. But she keeps it very linear in the way we're seeing it, so it doesn't get complicated quickly, and we can tell who's important and who's not because also there's very few cosmonauts that are fully named in this book right now,
think there's
and
only
they're
like
only we
Yeah.
only really get to know them. Well, we're not gonna get to know them. We really only see them when they're important to our storyline. We're not spreading out and seeing a bunch of random characters that we don't give a crap about. Like if for example, One Piece in the Dressrosa arc, or the beginning of the Dressrosa arc, with the Colosseum fight. There's so many characters in that, and that sequence takes so many episodes to get through because there are so many characters that are important. And trust me, most of them aren't actually important. There are a few that are important because it's important to see them later on, but so many of them are just like, you
Yeah.
could have spent less time on them.
Cosmo
Well, I can think of,
really
well, I can
gets
think of at
right
least
to the
two
point.
people in the Coliseum that we can all say are, kind of important.
I mean, it's cool
I
to
mean,
see.
obviously, but like we didn't need that. It
was
Ideo, that one.
It was fun to see Bellamy
Like,
again.
yeah,
though.
but
That was
Cosmo
pretty
and
fun.
Oh, that was excellent.
just
That was
gives
funny.
you-
But that's different. That's
Yeah,
that's
but,
no.
but Cosmo,
Yeah.
it just gives you exactly what the audience needs to know. Exactly what's relevant to what their character experiencing right now, and then it builds from it later.
Keeps it simple, but we can still see the scope of it.
I'm
we
sure
can
if-
still understand how big an event this is by looking at the crowd, by looking at how many people are here, and people talking about it and betting on it, and complaining when their guy loses. So like all this stuff is happening that we're not really seeing, but we're still understanding it because it's just part of the event. But the event itself is not the story.
Yeah, you guys
the
need to
three
read
of
volume
them.
2.
Especially in the scene where
Four of them, really, and especially in the end there with Kate there.
Yeah.
being
I was about
included
to
there.
say, especially
Kate
the scene
looming in the background. We really
Yes.
stick with our main three.
Yes, she really is looming in that
Predominantly.
fight. You're
I
right.
like
we
how that's how
absolutely
the
We
right.
don't go
goes.
off and learn about 10 million rival knights
Yeah.
and this and that. It really is these three with Kate slowly
Like the
coming
only
into
like the only night
mainframe
we
by the end.
the only other night we really get anything on is Jaws, and that's only because he's being built as kind of like a rival character,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
The
like,
physical nemesis of
Yeah.
Yeah, but in any
Of both.
cast
Yeah.
for this
but in any fight, you
book.
need to have a nemesis show up. You can't just throw just a random character in
There
there.
has
and
to be
for the
just-
somebody
drama.
that's a problem to deal with.
Yeah,
you
but
want
I
to
mean,
see
I
it.
like-
You want to see it.
I'm sure if Hannah had more real estate and pages to make some extra like nights like for hey, here's some toys for people or something like that. She probably could have, but as the old saying goes, less is more.
Less is
so
more.
I think that's
I have
actually.
a question for all of you guys. Do you think you could see this just being in graphic novel form, or would you like to see this expanded into like a TV series or an anime or something?
I'd kill to see this animated.
Oh,
I'd
this
kill
could-
to see this in motion.
I would
This-
want
this
to
could
see
be-
this animated just because I want to see how they're going to handle everything from the fight choreography in the Coliseum, how they travel in
Colors.
space, the color scheme, and this. I don't know. This just feels like this should be, in some form of like either animation or just something that's like a motion, maybe an online motion comic.
It could look so good.
I hope this ends up being really successful when she releases the third and last volume, because if she could expand on this world that she created, this would be great.
but yeah,
There's so much that she could touch
You could
upon
do-
with
you
this.
could
I
do
actually
more
gotta
with
ask, does
this.
anybody know when the third one's going to come out? 'Cause
I don't know.
I would have
It'll
no
come
idea.
out
When-
when
when
It
it
would have
come
been
out.
good to check.
Well, two came out in 2023.
Okay, so
Okay, probably in a,
Right.
probably in a year or two.
So
maybe.
let's just say we
Yeah.
hope so.
Well, the first
2026,
one was
27?
2019, but then we have
oh,
Just
a little bit of
little-
a time
a
skip
little
in
bit.
between.
Yeah, a
So
few
something
things.
happens.
There's like
between.
a
Few
3-year
things.
time period from 2019 to 2021 where we don't know what happened.
Yeah, we'll just we'll call that our the blank century. I mean, One Piece is allowed to call it blank century. We call it blank century.
The
Yeah,
void
we all
century.
got
Void
the
snapped.
void.
Boy.
But yeah, no. But no, I agree. I would love to see either Studio Mir, Powerhouse, Flying Bark, or Titmouse like really animate this with this style.
Titmouse
Obviously,
could do this so good.
seriously.
Definitely.
But
Damn.
What a
that would be
name.
but yeah, it's the name of an actual bird.
it is a bird.
It's a
Yes,
bird.
it is.
It's a
Yes,
bird.
it is. Yes, it is.
I know,
It
you
is
know,
a
we.
bird.
But yeah, no,
You
because
never,
all
see,
now
you,
know.
you never see a bird watcher go, yeah, I'm looking for them titties.
Is
You
that
know,
the
it's-
one? Is
it's
that
a tit.
Is
It's
that the one
it's
that
a
does like,
bird.
the weird
It's a
head
bird.
wobbles where it's walking down the road? It's like,
No.
No, am I thinking of a different
Yeah,
bird?
yeah, different bird.
I'm thinking of a different bird.
so stay tuned for our next podcast about birds.
Yes, between the birds.
Yes, yes. The roseate spoonbill is the.
Anywho, so yeah, the art's great. Especially the character design is very anime manga like, which is all the rage these days. I don't know if you've noticed.
I think it's only. I don't think it's really anime and manga like. I think it's sort of a halfway point between more traditional Western comic and Japanese manga.
Kind of like the Last Airbender.
It's
I was
it's
gonna say
more
Last
it's
Airbender,
more
but it's a
aggressive.
little-
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
It
is
definitely
certainly
feels like it's got that vibe.
there's certainly influence. At least that's what it feels like. There certainly feels like there's influence, but it's
But it's
not
not
trying to be a
full-blown,
full on anime. No one has giant eyes. No one has cat like features. There's no fan service, which is nice.
Not-
if
it
it was
really
if it was
isn't,
more
no.
if it was more manga inspired, there would be more fan service. Like that's just the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
it is. That's just the influence that comes out of that sort of thing.
Well, the one thing though, while I was reading this, that was screaming in my mind was, oh, it's knights, it's princesses, brides, it's women being the knights. I was thinking Revolutionary Girl Utena the entire time.
that's fair.
That's
That's very fair.
Classic.
I was thinking, because the thing is, I was thinking all that, but Revolutionary Girls didn't come to my mind. When I saw Cassis fight, I just thought to myself, wow, this is Scorpia from She-Ra in space.
Yes.
And I was thoroughly
Yeah.
loving all of it because Lauren Ash is awesome.
I was thinking that completely too. I was just like, this is just more
Like, if they turn this
aggressive
into...
Scorpia.
Like, if they turn this into an animated thing, I would definitely want to see Lauren Ash just
Lauren
voice
Ash,
this
yes.
just because she does it
go.
so well. And also just, I guess, just from a point of view of, I was happy to see a fight. It's definitely got the anime influence of a big fight with big robot, and I'm not going to argue with, I'm not going to complain
It
about
makes
that.
me just as a little historical history buff. It makes me very, very, very happy to see our lead knight be a lance
Yeah.
main and
Yeah.
not a sword main, because like that's more
Lances
that's
are medieval.
more. That's more knightly. Everyone thinks, oh, knight's sword. No.
They think
It's jousting.
Lance,
It's
spears.
jousting. Gotta
They
be
think
That's a
sword
knight.
because-
Yeah.
they think sword
Maces,
because
axes. That's what I want to see.
I mean, they think
names.
sword because Excalibur, Durandal,
Yeah,
the big
yeah,
sword.
yeah,
But,
but like-
but you think about the
Those are the
lance.
kings.
Those are the lance.
The
Those
lance
are the
is a
fighters.
weapon of a
mace
knight.
is the mace is a weapon of
knight.
They
weapon.
are.
and a
It is.
shield.
Yeah.
Because if you go to the Renaissance fair, they always start with like the
joust, yeah.
the jousting,
Yeah.
and the lances. They don't do the swords until after.
Once you ditch the
Yeah,
horse.
just
Yeah.
You drop off your horse, and then
It's
it's,
like
like,
this-
all right, close combat. Now we
Yeah.
can do
now
some.
you can
Yeah.
do sword.
Because
Now we can do some
that
sword
point, that's an afterthought. Because you were just thinking, man, they did all that stuff on a horse with that giant pole.
Try using a sword on a horse. It ain't gonna do too good. It's not the most effective thing you can
can't
do.
be.
It's not as easy as it
Animals
looks.
do not condone animal violence. Just
It is
Yeah,
not as
we
easy
do.
as it looks in the
I
book.
didn't say anything about animal violence.
It's different
I'm talking about real
different
violence.
eras. The cowboys
Not a regular
say it was
violence
effective
here.
for a
We're okay
reason.
with violence against humans. Animals, though, that's a
That's
big
a
no.
big
No.
There are
Leave the
no
animals alone.
animals get harmed in this comic. None. No animals get hurt.
It's PETA approved.
Yes.
Yes. So. Yes, we're just gonna have to nod again for emphasis on this. You know, let's nod again for emphasis on this because we don't want to do it. Moving on.
everyone's favorite panel.
Our
Yeah,
lead team.
I think I said mine already. You wanna-
Honestly,
Oh, my favorite panel. Oh boy.
If anyone would like
My
to.
favorite panel was, you know, you guys probably want to skip me because I have to actually find it.
I can go.
Oh,
Honestly, anything that has a big splash individual page of
Her
like.
splash pages are really
Yes.
nice.
Honestly,
Yeah, those are
it's just a
nice.
moment where you can just, because we talked about it before, it's just a nice moment where you could just breathe in and just see the night sky, see space, and just see other opportunities that go out there and what the story is going to, where the story is going to take us. It's like, it's just so good and all those colors, because it's just, it could be my own like ADHD talking, but I love colors
Colors are great.
and it's just nice to see. And it just gives a good like feel epic in scope in that way. But there's also individual panels where we get to see some of the knight armor and get to see some badass fights too. So that's always good. But for me, the splash pages are number one. Anyone else?
Oh, for me, right when Cass is going through her memories, right when she's thinking about remembering her experiences, right at the end of that, where it declares that she's about to go out and joust for herself, and she has this picture of her and her family.
Those 2 pages are
And,
so
and
good.
there's just so
Right?
much emotion that goes into this, and the colors are bright. You have this nice contrast with the men all wearing this dark blue and the women are wearing the yellow, and there's this heavy emphasis of orange. There's just a brilliant color. I mean, I can't say enough about this. This was probably my favorite panel through the whole thing,
Nice.
which has a lot of great panels, so that's saying a lot.
Anyone else? Here, hold on.
Take mine.
Thank you. So
Here, Dan,
yeah,
you can
actually,
look
you
through
already
mine to
showed
find yours.
one of them here, which was Cass winning her own hand. Amazing. We love to see it. And then I got 2, if that's okay. I don't want to cheat, but I'll be very quick with both. The first one was actually very close to the one that you had, Tyler, but it's kind of like the panel where she's looking at the armor and herself and just seeing the potential of her future, kind of making that split-second decision between whether she wants to kind of stay in this routine of being a princess and, just kind of staying with how things are, or could she make a difference for herself and actually fight for a chance of happiness and freedom?
Yeah, what-
So
Seeing
that part's really
her
nice.
her eyes reflected
In the visor,
in the
yes,
visor.
especially that.
Oh,
one.
that is
so
Like
such
this is
a
a power
beautiful,
shot, but this is like where the
beautiful
real
shot.
like.
I mean, it's
It's
a bit of a cliche. I won't lie. I've
No,
seen
it's
I've
good.
seen the shot a lot, but I love it every
It's
time
good.
it's done.
They did-
So it
Hannah
doesn't
does a
matter.
great job with it.
And then this last one, just kind of like seeing the joust be very like almost televised, almost like something you would see. It's like coming up next on
And
MTV,
advertising for
like,
it,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
coming up next on what was that channel? It was like the one with all the guy stuff.
Spike TV.
Spike TV, thank you, or something like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
next on
It's
Spike
like-
TV.
Bunch of macho
channel for men.
baloney. So yeah, it's like, and that's like kind of what they're fighting against and what they're fighting for. Like they're fighting against, like this world that's run by, we have to fight for women, but like not fight for women, but fight to physically
to obtain
own, to
women.
obtain,
And
which
the
is not
politics
what,
behind
and they're
it.
so it's fighting for women in the sense of as objects, and then fighting for women in the sense of fighting for their independence. So I feel like that's a nice contradiction, or like kind of complementary contradiction. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's two different
get what
things.
you're
We
saying.
fight for them and we fight for them. It's a nice parallel. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh, it's hard to think of words on the
Cass
spot
is kinda-
sometimes. Sorry.
Oh, I know
Cass
that
takes
feel.
the whole package for that.
Yeah,
guy.
I think that was yours.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, Cass takes like the whole package for that, like
She
the entire
does.
argument that you just presented
Yeah.
with that. She just embodies
Ben?
that.
And done?
Well, okay, come on. This one's gonna be kind of obvious for me. It's the panel right here where Cass, the bull's right here, fighter's right here, and he's going, basically, are you insane? And then it's almost like,
Oh, the
yes,
explosion.
yes, I am. It's like time's up, meathead, boom.
right.
Yeah, that's how you win a fight.
I just
Doing something so crazy that your opponent can't even think, are you crazy? You're going to kill us both. No, probably just you.
Can I just bring up one criticism that I have? One thing that bothered me immensely.
Go
It was
for
making
it,
me
come
laugh the other
on.
night. So in that fight, Jaws gets blown up and he gets launched because he gets thrown into the lava and launched off. And he's flying off, and in this panel he's upside down, and he just goes, "Damn it."
Right?
This needed an exclamation mark so bad, and I hate to be a grammar
I'm
Nazi.
going to be the one.
But the one
John,
time
I'm
he
sorry,
did
but I
it,
gotta be the
he's got to go, "Damn it!" He's got to go, "Damn it!" And so
John,
he just
I noticed that too.
John, I'm
He's got
sorry, but
blown
there's
up,
just
he's
one
just-
point. Damn it.
It sounded, in my mind, it sounded funny. It's like, oh, dang
John,
it.
I'm
I
sorry,
know
but
it's
at that
hilarious,
point,
but it's
I
like
think...
it should have been bigger.
Yeah.
John, I'm sorry, but at that point, I'm like, no, it makes perfect sense that it's not an exclamation point at the end, just because, well, I've seen a lot of fights where it involves either this or a robot combat fight, and it's like, well, when your batteries have exploded and you're essentially and whatever you're fighting is flying through the air, you really have no point just to say, well, them's the breaks. Because
I mean,
what else is there really to say? You can't get...
I guess, but like,
That's the
come
expression
on.
of it.
You
It's the
know,
expression
gotta-
of it.
Like you're if you lose in a fight as a professional fighter, you're in a fight that's not necessarily to the death, but like close to the death. Your adrenaline is so high. It doesn't matter what happens to you. You're gonna take it at a high level. I have seen people who have lost freaking card games that have had bigger reactions
Yeah.
than this guy getting
yeah.
blown up.
See,
Let's put
you
it this way,
do
when you
it.
put your body through unimaginable torture and you're fighting, you've got the adrenaline rush. Eventually, when you're basically flying through
Also,
the air, all the adrenaline just
also
transcends,
we
and you're just like, yep, I'm flying through the
Nah,
air.
that's
This ain't
not that
good.
You know what?
That's
That's the
after.
one
That's after you
change.
land.
Also, we don't know how much
That's
this
our big
armor
argument for
costs.
this.
That probably costs a lot.
It probably does,
Probably
but
a lot more than you would imagine.
but did they ever
We don't
establish?
fully know the economics of this world.
Do
yet.
they
We also
establish
don't know
that
the
they
money.
build it so
We
they
don't
have to
know-
use
yeah,
their own
we
money
also
out of
don't know
credits
pocket?
as
We don't know how the
a-
money's
They
going.
have
if you're-
sponsors. They have sponsors.
That's
It's
Okay.
They're very rich sponsors.
That's
So
true.
That's
That is
And
true.
it's,
But
it's,
still,
it's
break
not
that
like,
armor, you'll
it's not
piss
like
off
it's
the
modern
sponsors.
day.
Yeah.
It's not like it's
Yeah.
modern day and you need to be Tony Stark to make this
Silver.
stuff.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty silver, that's what
Wait,
I
we
got.
got
You go
two
to-
conversations
You go to the
happening.
other
Yeah,
body
Two
shop, you're good.
It's okay.
No, it's all right. So, all right, cool. Do you have a favorite panel?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I can to take the same point you made and try to make it sound original. But
Remix it.
Oh,
because I knew right away what I was gonna say to answer this
Yep.
question, and then you said it first. I was like,
Well,
oh, no.
remix it and get
Well,
Ludacris
no,
on it.
I have something good I want to add to that. One of my favorite things is just you have these such personal moments where it's just you and I, it's just the two of us or the three of us or whatever, and you have these very emotional one-on-one, all three of them conversations, and then you turn the page and boom, space. You know, it that art direction, what it does, the scale and just the overwhelming what the three of them are up against.
Yeah.
But the whole time we maintain such a nice tight-knit connection with our three leads.
Cass, Pan, and B.
And then boom, you're in the middle of space. You see how small they are
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
face of all of this. And that
such a scope.
and it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where it's you're not ham-fisted with the dialogue. The art does a lot of the talking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And then to bring in the color, you're not just in a black void and there's stars. Everything is splashed with blue and pink and everything.
Space is very purple in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so colorful. You see how close they are in a galaxy of what they're up against.
Yeah.
And that I
Yeah.
think is
Precisely.
just such a cool
They're
way
each,
it's presented.
They're each one color in a sea of many colors.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that.
Yeah.
No, that's the best thing. Like one of my favorite quotes my friend said when it comes to comics, graphic novels, and manga is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So when you're reading something like this,
Yeah.
or say for example Blankets or Mouse or Watchmen or something like that, you're reading hundreds of thousands of words per, like, not just per page but also per panel. So that's one of the best things about this medium, which is why I like to start this podcast. And I'm glad that we started with this book because this one has really got me hooked. I want to read the second one now and the third one whenever it comes out. So I think looking at Tyler's.
We're at 30
We got
seconds.
5 minutes.
Okay, so we got 30 seconds before we reach the 5-minute mark. So
Yeah.
how about we all just share our just final thoughts? So to my left.
Oh God, you're starting with me. Oh man, I haven't thought of anything yet. Jousting's cool. Jousting is cool, and I am very excited to see. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I think I said that very much so at the beginning.
Yeah.
I have not read Volume 2 yet, like some people here, but I will be doing that soon. And I mean, I am a little sad that it's only going to be 3 volumes. I was hoping there'd be more, but who knows? Maybe we'll see if it does well.
You know, I was off of that, wishing that it was more than 3 volumes. I have the same wish. But to give Hannah credit, she's put so much into what she has so far with
Yes.
these. Because I read volume 2, but the way that she uses the space of the book, the way that she takes all these characters, all these arcs, and gives you a full emotional experience from it, it's just, frankly, it's just a testament to her skill and her knowledge of this medium, of how you can tell these stories with as little as possible.
Yeah.
With just the imagery, just the colors, just showing these really unique character designs, this really unique setting. And she's done a great job. On my personal rating, is this as good as Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill? No. It's better. So this is pretty good.
Nice.
This is pretty darn good.
It's not at all what I was expecting to hear.
Burn it. You gotta burn this.
Oh
shoot.
Tyler, Tyler, I have a cold. Don't make me laugh. All right.
Kill him.
Okay. Ronnie, our EP.
Moving on.
Okay, so I think we're all going to agree with the sentiment of we wish there was more, but that is the thing about good quality media. We always do wish there's more, but I think that's also one of the hardest things to do is, as a creator, to have a beginning, middle, and definite endpoint. Because
Very
then
sure.
people sometimes are like, oh, this is really popular. Let's go another season. Let's go another 3, or let's keep going. Why not?
That's always
and then
dangerous.
that original spark might fade out. So I think that's actually kind of really strong for creators to know, okay, I'm going to end here and that's final. Very like Gravity Falls, very like, I sadly can't think of other creators at the moment, but that same sentiment is there. Also, if you happen to like the vibe of, female empowerment and, ladies being amazing, might I also suggest, because yes, I'm the weirdo who also brought another book that's different from what everyone read, Outlawed, except this is in the Wild West, where women who are infertile are kind of like, it's frowned upon, and it's like, oh, we're going to become banditas, or we're going to become outlaws. A lot of LGBTQ friendly themes in here, strong characters, female, non-binary, etc. It's a very good plot. I highly recommend to you guys too if you want to. So,
Definitely.
yeehaw.
I don't like reading.
Well, I do.
I like reading.
You just like looking at the picture.
I
That
like
you didn't
pretty
even.
pictures.
I have to read more of
I
Cosmo
can't
Nights Volume
read.
2.
I don't know
Very
how to
excited.
read. I don't
So,
read.
Dan the man?
I gotta read the book now. Okay, so I maybe have a different mindset of that. I am completely okay with it only being 3 volumes, just because this is a series that basically it only has 3 volumes to work with, and it seems to be using every single panel and every single page to the best it's got. It is definitely of the mindset of less is more, tell more with what you got, and Hannah just uses it like in every which way possible. I think it works, and I just gotta say, great ambiance, great scenery, awesome job. Need to read volume 2 and 3.
When volume 3
I
comes
really
out.
just
It comes out sometime.
Yeah.
We'll
Volume two and
figure it out
three.
later.
Eventually.
I just realized that
time.
I just realized that I'm probably going to annoy some comic fans when it's like, this is not a robot, this is a mech fight. But that's the only thing I could think of at that moment.
Nah,
So,
it did.
That's
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine.
I
It's
agree
fine.
with
It's
that.
fine.
I agree with that.
Yeah, right?
so anyway, go.
So I'm gonna break the rule just a little bit. I'm not gonna
Go for
spoil,
it.
I'm not gonna spoil anything. I promise. One thing that I just reading all this, what I really like is, you have times in life where look right at the camera. You have times in life where you go into something with best intentions, but you never, practically never have a situation that you're going into where you have a black and white, here's the problem, and here's how I'm going to fix it, and everyone's going to love me and everything's going to be great. life is so much more complicated than that. Just the one little hint I'll give you in 2. We have one scene in 2 where Cass and Kate are really, and you know what I'm talking about. This is my favorite part of both books.
That was
I gotta bring it up. It's my favorite thing in both books.
Okay.
Spoilers.
But I'm not gonna go too deep into it. You have a bit where, and we get a good setup of this in 1.
Yeah.
You have a really good bit where Kate is talking to Cass, where it's like, hey, I know this is what you want to do, and I know you think you're making the save, but hey, how many princesses are we gonna save? And everything else is still the same. We have to do this on a different scale. We can't just go and save a princess willy-nilly. And this is Kate's entire perspective of life, and this is how she wants to make existence better.
And the contrast versus Cass.
And Cass looks right at her
yeah.
and holds up a picture. I don't know how that happened. I turned the volume off and everything. I'm making a whole big point. And Kate gives you this whole explanation. And it's so personal to her. And then Cass holds up a picture of a princess. She goes, all right, well, this is why I'm doing this. Yeah. And it's such a good counter where nobody is wrong in this situation.
Yeah.
And, to really initiate serious change, it's not, Breaking Bad's a great excuse. How often is someone a good guy and then they're the good guy the entire time?
Right.
People are so much more complex than that, and that's something I think this story did so well. And just for the 2 of us, you can't tell me, and I'm a little funny here, you can't tell me after reading book 2 that Percy is not the best character the entire time.
Oh my God.
You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't tell
All
me
right, we
that
gotta read
Percy's
book 2.
not the
I don't even know what Percy
That's
is.
what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Percy Jackson, what are you doing
I am
here?
biased. I have 3.
I
I
get
have
it.
3.
All right.
I am biased.
We gotta wrap up.
All right, so to wrap this up, the story's great, the art's great, it's a great sci-fi story, and hashtag Let's Go Lesbians.
What do you rate this, Kier? What do you rate
Put it on the
it?
Kier scale.
Give it a
A
Kier
Kier
scale.
scale? A Kier
Put out the
scale?
Kier scale.
I give it 49 Halle Berrys out of 10.
That's a lot of Halle Berrys.
That's a lot of
That's
Halle
a lot of
Berrys.
Halle
I
Berrys,
don't know.
folks.
But, so that's Cosmo Nights. You can find this at Barnes & Noble or on Hannah Templar's
For free.
website
For free. You can read for free.
So
you got
she's
no
offering.
excuse.
She's
You
offering.
got no excuse.
So
It's
you can do
very
that.
easy to find
So-
both copies.
So yeah, thank you LMC. Thank you Chris for this. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll be back next month for our next book. They Call Us Enemy by George Takei. So stay tuned for that one.